may not be a surprise to you all that I, as an Episcopal priest, love tradition. I love that I can come here week after week through the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs and participate in traditions that have been passed down for hundreds or even thousands of years. There is something that is so comforting about traditions. When I was growing up, from about 4 till 13, my family would pack into our 1978 Ford pickup and head to Jack's Tree Farm. And there we would wallow in everything Christmas. They had everything to make a child's dream experience magical. Hot chocolate, Christmas lights, bonfires, and of course, Christmas trees as far as you could see. My dad would get out his handsaw and we would wander around as a family looking for that perfect tree. And then after just the right amount of time, and now I know that it was just the right amount because it was before anyone threw down crying and screaming, we would find the one. My dad would cut it down and the wonderful staff of Jack's Tree Farm would haul it off. It was magical, a wonderful tradition. And it meant that we were kicking off a season of wonderful family time together. But then, fast forward to the fateful year I turned 14. The grumblings began. It must have been a particularly busy time of year for my parents. And one of them mentioned that maybe we should think about getting a tree from our local nursery. As you can probably assume, my brother and I were undone. We would not have it. We drilled our parents with questions. So we're not getting a tree. Are we getting a fake tree? It's not Christmas if we get a fake tree. And if we even get a real one, where do we get it? Do we even get to still pick out our tree? We were unable to imagine anything outside of the tradition that we had grown so accustomed to for all of these long 10 years. We wanted to stick with the tradition. But that is why tradition, as wonderful as it is, can be a double-edged sword. It molds us so deeply, and yet sometimes it can hold us back. We cling so tightly to what has been passed down through the generations. We hold it sacred. Many of those traditions point us to our core beliefs as well. In my family, one of the core beliefs was spending quality time together. But sometimes, especially as children, we let the traditions themselves override the core beliefs that drove us to the traditions in the first place. And that is where the Sadducees have landed. So much like our ridiculous questions to my parents about whether or not we were even having Christmas if we didn't get a tree, the Sadducees asked Jesus an equally silly question. Though Jesus and the Sadducees are both Jewish and they hold some very similar core beliefs, the Sadducees are tripped up on their tradition, and specifically the laws written in their sacred text, the Torah. Now, Jesus also holds the Torah as a sacred text, though he also takes the prophets and the Psalms as sacred texts as well. Now, the difference is the Torah does not address resurrection, and that is where these Sadducees get stuck. Because for them, these unimaginative Sadducees, it isn't really what happens to the woman in her multiple marriages that's the thing. At the heart of their core beliefs, as known through the tradition of the Torah, the Sadducees are unable to envision anything outside their tradition of the Torah. They believe that God could not work out God's justice any other way than in the here and the now as they know it. Now, we know that God's work of justice is working out now, and will continue to be made perfect and full in the kingdom of heaven. But Jesus was preaching that God had already begun that. And because he already begun that, the resurrection of all things was already happening, but would be made that much more so in time. And in the resurrection, there would be a reconciling of all things, the entire world, to God's self. And that means ordering the world in such a way that, get this, especially you guys, that there is no need for husbands. I know. It's okay. It's okay. There's good news. There's a place for y'all. In God's resurrected world, we don't need husbands. Now, that's because the world will be working as it is intended. We all, women, men, all people will be working in harmony with one another, and there will be no wants. The thing is, women relied on men to make sure that they had some way of surviving if their husband died. But women in the kingdom resurrected, something that the Sadducees could not imagine, women will not rely on men as a means of surviving in the world. And that was the point of the law in the first place. It was a law meant to help women if they were widowed. And of course, that would be unnecessary in God's kingdom of heaven. But the Sadducees just can't quite get there because they can't really see the forest for the trees. They either don't understand or have forgotten what is at the heart of the law, which is their tradition, which is to love God and to love one another. The Sadducees are a caution to those of us who love tradition. And we are a people who love tradition. Traditions take shape in something as deep and as tested as the Nicene Creed, but also as powerful as singing Jesus Loves Me here at All Saints after every single baptism. The gospel narrative is an invitation for us to ask why. Why do we say the Nicene Creed? Why do we sing Jesus Loves Me after the baptisms? Or why do we always have a chili cook-off after and every November? No, hear me out. And also, to be fair, you can wonder all you want about the Nicene Creed, and I encourage you to do so, but there's little wondering that is going to change that tradition. But there are some traditions that are meant to be held more loosely than others. Traditions, like our living God, evolve and change as the community changes and evolves. And I don't mean that God changes or evolves. I mean that God calls us as a God of reality that is ongoing to evolve. We can talk more about that later as individuals. Jesus is asking the Sadducees and asking us, as people who are evolving and growing and changing, he is asking us to consider the heart of our traditions. Is it to love God and our neighbor? Are we able to imagine and expand our tradition as a community evolves and grows without losing our core beliefs? Is love at the center? As our former presiding bishop said over and over again, if it isn't about love, it isn't about God. When my parents dared to reimagine a different tradition around the origin of our Christmas tree, it was a hard pill to swallow. It took many family discussions. But eventually, through those discussions, we came to realize that the procuring of the tree was not necessarily what gave us those warm fuzzies during the Advent and Christmas season. The warmth and the joy and the magic that we felt during the seasons was our core family value, the value of spending time together as a family. And as our tradition evolved, we learned to enjoy the slow mornings after Thanksgiving. We didn't have to rush off first thing in the morning to Jack's Tree Farm. The Fraser firs that we got at our local nursery gave off an amazing scent, very unlike the Leland cypress we used to cut. We had created new traditions, but we held the core value close. And in holding the core tradition close and tightly, we were able to hold other traditions less tightly. And then in doing that, we were able to follow God's creative spirit and evolve in wonderful, meaningful ways that better served our little family. And that's the good news for each one of us. We are invited to follow a God not of stagnation, but a God of creativity. We are invited to rethink our tradition as it evolves with the core of who we are. And what that means is that we are never stuck doing the same thing over and over again, as long as it aligns with God's love and God's grace. As long as it aligns with loving God and loving one another. So I'm asking us to wonder, what do you hold tight? And what might it be that we're called to let go of? Where might we be quite stuck as individuals or as a community? Because in this human family, and even in this ancient tradition, we are never stuck when we hold tight